Welcome to SalinaRadio.com, recorded right here in Salina, Texas, a quiet little dusty, sleepy town that has absolutely nothing going on. Guys, I am so totally kidding about that. Of course, this is Salina, Texas, and we have everything going on here. Now, I'm Ron Lyons. This is SalinaRadio.com, and we intend to have a good time. So put on your seatbelt, and let's get started.
Anything James Bond. Daniel Craig, James Bond. Daniel Craig's character, James Bond, his passport has April 13th is his birthday, which is my birthday. So as a young kid, I wanted to be a spy. I thought I was going to be a spy. I was Nancy Drew, read all of those. So love James Bond, all the old ones, but Daniel Craig is my favorite. So...
All right, guys, welcome back to SalinaRadio.com. And that voice you just heard may not have actually become a spy in real life, but she did become the director of the Celina Economic Development Corporation. Her name is Alexis Jackson, and she is one of the most influential women in the city of Celina. We're going to talk to her all about the EDC, and we may just learn a little bit about her James Bond fascination. But before we get to that, let's talk about this crazy week that we just had. All right, guys, this last week was somewhat crazy and very hectic, and mostly in a good way. When I say mostly in a good way is because we got through our election process. I wasn't real sure there for a minute if we were going to make it, but we did. And we elected some new people to city council and the school board. And I just want to take a moment and tell you something about these candidates. And I'm referring to the ones who won their races and the ones who didn't. Every single one of these candidates, all 8 of them, were amazing people. They all have hearts of service, and they all subjected themselves to something that most of us would never do, all in order to take a leadership position and try and help guide Salina to a better future. And of course, while all the election thing is going on, Salina was also having their Cinco de Mayo celebration downtown Salina on the square. Now, if you missed this, let me give you an idea of what you missed. First of all, there was fantastic music. There was a lot of live music and street dancers. Some of the coolest street dancing I've ever seen. It was a very impressive display of some Mayan culture, dancing and stuff like that. It was just great. You also missed out on some really, really good, authentic food and just a great experience. Salina puts these events on in grand fashion. They do a fantastic job. And this was no different than the others that were just amazing as well. And we've got so many more coming up in the future. As a matter of fact, this Saturday, May the 14th, we've got Cajun Fest. And Cajun Fest happens on the square from 2 until 9 p.m. Now, there's different things that are going to be going on. There's a big concert by John Michael Montgomery that'll be taking place at Cajun Fest. There's going to be live alligator shows. There's going to be inflatables for the kids and like a whole kid zone area. There's going to be carnival rides, lots and lots of vendors, food, you name it. It's all going to be there. Now, you can do different levels of experiences at Cajun Fest, starting down at my level, which is called the free level, which is where you just show up and have a good time. The next level above that, you would actually buy a ticket for the crawfish boil. And then one more level above that, you would get a VIP experience that involves a VIP lounge setup and some front row stuff around John Michael Montgomery and just a big VIP experience. So you can kind of decide what you want to do, and you can go online to lifeinsalinatx.com/Cajun Fest And you can get a much better idea of all of the different events and the tickets and all of that stuff when you visit that website. So come on out this Saturday, May the 14th. Try to find me. I'm going to be walking around with a video camera and doing all my typical stuff, but I'd love to meet you. Say hello. Tell me what you think about SalinaRadio.com. But most of all, let's just go have a good time. Now, until next weekend, I've got a special treat for you that I think you're going to really like. And it all involves this girl who grew up thinking that she might want to be a spy, but instead became the director of the Salina EDC. All right, guys, I am here with Alexis Jackson, and we're going to get into a little bit about who she is in just a moment. But first, I have to ask you, how many times a day do you get called Alexa?
A few in my life. Most people have in some ways, nicknamed me. Lots of variations of Alexis. Alex, Lex, Lexi, Lexus. But Alexa definitely more thanks to Amazon.
So that brings up a really good question. Do you have any of those Amazon devices in your house?
I do.
And how often and how unnerving is it when Alexa responds because someone's calling you?
It's annoying. It happens. It's annoying. Sometimes I just unplug her.
Yeah. Don't you wish we could sometimes do that to people as well?
And I think I read that you can rename her, but I'm not even that tech savvy to call her Bob or something.
That would be really great. It'd be like Bob play classic music or whatever. That'd be awesome. I may just try to rename mine.
I think it should be male instead of female anyway.
Right. So tell everybody who you are.
I am the executive director of the Salina Economic Development Corporation. It's a very obnoxious title. I'm not even into titles. A lot of times I say I just work for the Salina EDC or I work for the EDC.
So give me an idea. So EDC, that's a whole separate entity in and of its own. That's not, people always say, well, yeah, you work for the city, but it's not. How is an EDC actually structured and how is that different from the actual city?
Great question. We are a subset of the city. We are our own corporation. The way that it works, I think it was around 1979, the state of Texas allowed what we call Type A and Type B 501c3s to organize all around sales tax. So how it works is the 8.25% sales tax that the state charges, 6 cents of that goes to 6.25 cents goes to the state, 2 cents goes to the city. A half cent of the 2 cents comes to the EDC, and then the city also has a CDC. We do have a 5-member board appointed by City Council. We meet once a month on Tuesdays at 302 West Walnut Street.
So give me an idea of how long you've been doing this job.
About 4.5 years. I'm coming up on my 5-year anniversary in November.
Okay, and I know from personal experience that you're amazing at what you do.
Thank you.
And I just want to say, just kind of as a side note, thank you for everything. I know that with the growth of Salina right now, that's not got to be the easiest job in the world. And I have a feeling that there's a lot of stress involved with it. So give me an idea of what's a typical day in Alexis Jackson's life like with the EDC.
There are a lot of meetings. A lot of people want to talk to the EDC and specifically me. I serve external and internal customers. So what that means is external, we have a lot of developers, a lot of businesses that have Salina on their radar. We are the fastest growing. Dallas Business Journal ranked us the fastest growing 3 years in a row. And with that comes a lot of attention. And so it is really my primary job and responsibility to field all inquiries. anybody from, you name it, from small businesses to large businesses that want to know, hear more about Celina, that's what I do. I sell Celina from that standpoint, meaning, I give them lots of facts. I give them demographic data. I'm pulling marketing information constantly because the businesses are making their decisions based on numbers.
So essentially, I'm out there all the time and I'm talking to people, and especially with political season going on right now, I've talked to all the candidates, and one thing that comes up quite often is the drinking the Kool-Aid. And I think we determined yesterday the Kool-Aid must be orange Kool-Aid. So I'm thinking right now that you play a large part in creating the Kool-Aid. Would you agree with that?
I do agree, and I'll tell you a story. So my background is actually more in community development than economic development. So when I first got to Salina, I attended the ICSC, which is the International Shopping Center Council. It's a huge conference in Las Vegas. Every national retailer attends. And so I attended, and it was very obvious that my predecessor, Corbett Howard, had done an amazing job at making relationships, establishing relationships with everybody. Walmart, Whataburger, you name it. They all knew where Celina was, thanks to Corbett's hard work. However, their site requirements are they want any community to be about 40 or 50,000 population. And 4 years ago, we were nowhere near that. And after listening to the retailers, knowing that they're coming at one day, once we were closer to that population, my personality is like, well, what do we do in the meantime? There's a lot we can do because of our downtown. So that's quite honestly where the downtown redevelopment started. Everything in city work and city planning and community development starts with a vision. And so the vision was, and it had been for a while, it needed some more love, as I say. It needed really somebody that was going to cheerlead and champion the effort. And the zoning and the code, backs up all of those efforts too. And so the city and the EDC took a look at all of the policies and programs related to the downtown. We started working with the business owners as well as the property owners to establish what you see today. But that took a lot of effort and rolling up the sleeves and again, creating a vision. You have to have a plan. You have to have a pretty picture. It sounds like I'm boiling it down, but I'm not. You have to have a pretty picture that says this is what Salina is going to be. This is what the downtown is going to look like. And then I took that pretty picture to developers and business owners and said, hey, now's the time to start investing in Salina. And I believe that we were very successful at that.
So would you agree with me that maybe a lot of people who live here don't actually know just how amazing the plans are for this city? So part of that is we're seeing that people they're finding out about Celina, and it's that small town, and it's the football traditions, and it's the schools, and it's all these things that draw people here. But many times they don't even know about this amazing thing that's going on. So speak to that just a little bit. What all is going on right now?
Well, and a lot of people, it's a great question because a lot of people think that downtown is just the square. And we realized because of the existing grid street network, if you look at the map from an aerial standpoint, we've got great grid street, and that lends itself to something that's very walkable and very pedestrian oriented, which we know, from other communities that have been successful, that's a great opportunity. So having short blocks, having the historic character already there, but adding to that was really a lot easier than starting from scratch. A lot of people do. Frisco is a great example. They're downtown. They tried to create something out of nothing, and you just get a different flavor. So all of the bones, the elements were already here. We just needed to create a plan. And so we started with the square itself. And really, the downtown plan, the very first thing was a community survey. We did that straight off the bat, just to make sure that we were checking in with the community, because resoundingly, everyone loved the downtown. However, if we were going to make a huge investment in the downtown, we wanted to make sure that that's what the community was on board for. So we did a community survey, and then we had a lot of community meetings related to the downtown early on. This was about 3-4 years ago. And we came to a consensus, had a downtown master plan, and started to implement that. But again, that area of the square goes so much further. And so the next step was an entertainment district. So we got a lot of interest in restaurants, shopping and dining, specifically, with an alcohol side to it. There's family friendly and with an alcohol twist to it in a lot of successful downtown. So we saw Roller Town wanted to come in, and Little One and Penguin contributed to that. So that area all over on that side of the railroad is what we consider our entertainment district. So we're constantly looking at the whole downtown and making sure that all of the infrastructure is there. I hear a lot about flooding. The city has a plan and has implemented that. Things all just take a lot of time and a lot of money. And so just know that there is a plan, there's a vision, the businesses, the building owners, the property owners are all behind it because, quite frankly, we asked them before we even started any of this.
So it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. And where might somebody go if they wanted to learn more about what's up and coming? Are there any resources that you would want to share?
There are a few resources. The city website, so celina-tx.gov. If you navigate to the planning department, they have all of anything related to the downtown master plans or any of the visioning related to that. Also the salinaedc.com under business and then site selection. We have a lot of the commercial projects that are coming up out of the ground. We try to put as much information as we can if we know that's up and coming. We started a marketing campaign at the beginning of this year, so we have coming soon. As a resident of Salina, and I constantly drive by different places, when I see something under construction or something changing, I want to know. And a lot of times there's no sign outside. So as the EDC, we're trying our best to inform the community of what's coming, whether it's literally they just broke ground and there's nothing there other than dirt being turned, or you actually see it going vertical, as we say in my role. That's when it starts to get exciting, and that you're like, there's definitely something coming there. But there's so much rapidly changing in Salina. So I think the Salina EDC Facebook page and the city's Facebook page, websites. Also, I will say Life in Salina, tx.com. A lot of people don't know about that website. It is the city's live, work, play, but it's got a ton of resources, especially under play, related to the downtown and just all of the events and everything going on.
So tell me this, 5 years ago when you first kind of broke into this whole thing and Salina was lying ahead of you, so to speak, did you think that today it would be where we are? Did you have that vision already, or has there been surprises that make you go, wow, I didn't see that?
It's both. I'm a self-confessed city geek, so I love to travel and I love to implement ideas from other cities that I've been to. So a great example would be Nashville. I traveled to Nashville and I saw all of these amazing murals and how they added to the ambiance of the area. And I also saw a lot of millennials standing in front of the murals, tagging themselves. So I wear lots of hats at the EDC. So one of them is marketing. And so I knew that if, we implemented murals in the downtown area, that A, they're just great. They tell the story of Salina, but B, from a marketing standpoint, when you see your friends standing in front of a cool wall on social media, and then they geotag where they are, they're like, a lot of times they might say to themselves that we hope, hey, where's the Salina? And that's a really cool mural. Let's go to that. So it's both. I'm surprised, but also I'm pleasantly surprised that all of the hard work that a lot of people have put in, the vision is becoming a reality. I have some of my presentations, I have an article from the Collin County periodical. It was like 2011, and it said, the growth is coming. And that was 2011. It was a picture of a rendering of our square, and it was very identical to the renderings of the square that we have, in 2020 and 2021. So just know from, our standpoint that these plans have been in place for a very long time, but a lot of a lot of the success is related to what I like to say the stars have aligned for Salina. So in order for all of these amazing things to be happening, you have to have the city leadership. You have to have the mayor and the city council and the EDC board and the staff all working together. If there's a disconnect on any of those levels, it makes it much harder. So right now, thankfully, I'm very thankful every day that we are aligned. We asked the community, the leadership said we trust the staff. The staff has been implementing it. So from a city geek standpoint, that's like a dream. That's a dream job come true, because you've got all these great creative ideas to implement and use in the community, and the leadership saying, okay, go for it. And that's exciting.
That certainly makes things much easier. So in speaking to that, and having been in the area for a long time, I think that we, being Celina, have the advantage of learning from some of the cities to our south that have gone through their own growth and that sort of thing. So would you agree that maybe by the time the growth is now getting to Celina, that we actually have an advantage because we have case studies. We can literally look backwards and see how everybody else has done it and maybe even do better.
Exactly, and that's what we did when we started this process. Is we talked to all of the surrounding cities, because as I say, we're not reinventing the wheel here. We're borrowing what works and we're leaving behind what doesn't work. So we did exactly what you said. We talked to Plano, we talked to Frisco, we talked to McKinney, we talked to Prosper. We continually check in with all of those communities and ask them, what would you do differently? Frisco 20 years ago, we've talked to George Purefoy, and he's given us some great ideas. We learned from Frisco where they were not concentrating on their east-west corridors. They did it too late once the population was already there and the roads were already suffering. So we learned that from Frisco, and we've implemented, as you can see, Frontier is under construction. We learned that, and now we're implementing those ideas.
That's awesome. And I love that. I love all of that about Salina, and I love everything you're sharing with us. But I know you do this quite often. You and I sat down, I don't know, it was a couple of years ago now, and did a little video, and so much has happened in those 2 years. And I know this is a point in time as well. We'll be able to get together again sometime down the road. And there's going to be all kinds of new stuff, new information, new things that have happened. But what I would like to do in order to kind of break ranks with everybody else who sits down with Alexis Jackson is I'd like to talk about you personally a little bit. And you've graciously agreed to do that. You may regret that, and you may knock me out before I leave. But I've had so much fun with all of the candidates, asking them these personal questions, and some of them, the answers are sometimes very entertaining and fun. So do you mind if we do that a little bit?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Get ready.
I don't mind.
we're not gonna do anything too crazy. So let's. I'm gonna shift gears on Alexis Jackson and do something that I don't think has been done before. And I'm gonna start off with what characteristic or personality trait about yourself do most people misunderstand?
I think most people misunderstand that I can be very, very nice, very friendly, very personable, but I also have a very serious business side. As a woman in a very male-dominated industry, I've had to be able to get along with everybody, but also manage what I like to call strong and sometimes can be difficult personalities.
And that's an asset to you, and I agree. I've certainly seen that within you, and I think that's much to your credit. So give me an idea of a favorite childhood memory.
I grew up in Florida, so every time we went to the beach, it's my favorite place to be now at 47. And it was an amazing place to grow up on the beaches of Florida. My grandparents also lived, had a home in Montana, and being able to spend my summers in Montana and then at the beach as well, it was really an idyllic childhood.
So give me an idea. Have you gone back to any of, like where you grew up in Florida? Have you gone back and has it changed, or is it largely the way you remember it?
That's a great question too. It's largely how I remembered it. I grew up in the St. Petersburg, Clearwater area, and their downtown, the St. Petersburg specifically, has gone through a lot of different changes. Clearwater, not so much. I was there maybe 2 years ago, and it was identical to when I was there when I grew up. So I would say there's certain areas, but a lot of it hasn't changed. We're in such a rapidly changing, growing area, so that when I do go back, I'm always surprised that like that same restaurant from 20 years ago is still there. So it's interesting how different places are either or growing or not growing.
That's right. And you unfortunately have the burden of seeing everything through the lens of your profession now, and you're in this growing dynamic city, and then you go somewhere like that, you're like, how come y'all aren't doing this? Or boy, y'all should really do that. You probably, you go through that a lot, and I can only imagine. So give me an idea of something that you'd like to be remembered for when you're gone.
It would probably be that I was all in. I gave Salina and quite frankly, any community that I worked in, all of it. Even though my title is executive director, I was sweeping the floors in the EDC office the other day. Like, I don't share that I'm in any way too good or to have a high level to not be all in and roll up my sleeves and do whatever needs to be done for Celina. I think I saw something on LinkedIn that what was your job title, and it was whatever it takes. That's my philosophy. Whatever it takes. I'm very goal oriented. You give me a goal, and I will go for it. I will go after it, and I will get it done because it's professionally and personally a huge sense of satisfaction for me.
I love that. Is there, and we've got to keep this is very family oriented. So, some of my best answers to the question I'm about to ask you, I couldn't share right now, but if you have one, I'd be real interested to know, is there any funny stories about you that your family just loves to kick around all the time about something either that happened or something that you did that's shareable?
My mom likes to tell the story. I think I was probably I was probably about my son's age. My son Wyatt is 8. I was probably about 8 or 9 years old, and I was playing in the backyard with my friends, and my mom looked out the window. She saw me standing above my friends. My friends were sitting on the grass, and I was standing over them with my arms crossed, and then I started pointing at them, and I got really frustrated, and I think I stomped my foot and came inside. And she said, Alexis, what happened? I was like, they weren't doing what I wanted them to do. And so I definitely a type A personality. I had to learn at an early age, everyone's not going to play the game that you want them to play. So it was my mom talked to me about it, and it was a learning experience for me because I think my friends they went home. They didn't want to play with me because I was being bossy. I was probably wasn't being very nice, and so that was a good my mom loves to tell that story. Yes.
So the early formation of Alexis was actually something that's going to benefit her later in life. Yeah. But yeah, that's a great story. And we know that there's a million places around Salina that are awesome places to hang out, to eat, to do different things. Give me a few, and it literally mean, I think we've seen each other out at almost every place that's here. There are no bad places, but give me a few ideas of where we might find Alexis and what you kind of enjoy.
It's interesting because I mentioned I sell Salina, and one of the community surveys that we've done mentioned a coffee shop in downtown. So part of my role is business attraction, as I mentioned, and so I actively go after businesses that I think would fit really well with the vision. And I personally was a fan of Summer Moon when I lived in Frisco. So it was really easy for me to approach Greg Richardson, the owner, and sell Celina and share with him our vision and how Summer Moon would fit really well into the downtown. And as you can see, they have. So my point is that you will find me at Summer Moon. having them right next door to the EDC office has been amazing. So it's a little selfish from my standpoint. It's selfish when I know where I like and where I like to hang out, and I study all of these, the 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds and 40-year-olds. I can immediately go into a place and know if it's going to work or not, just from a design standpoint, even from a programming standpoint, a service standpoint. You know, the Truck Yard and the Colony, they knock that out of the park. So every place I go, I think, whether it's in the Metroplex or in somewhere, another city, I think, will this fit in to Salina? And sometimes yes and sometimes no. So it makes my job really fun to be able to reach out to places that I know that I personally enjoy and I personally want to hang out. When Katie and Taylor shared their idea for Little Wooden Penguin with me early on, I was immediately excited. But I will tell you that I had some reticence from other individuals because they couldn't wrap their head around that type of establishment in Celina. So you will find me at Little Wooden Penguin, absolutely. So Summer Moon, Little Wooden Penguin. I love Valley Vines. They have a dry rosé that I just can't get past it. I need to try more of their wines, and I'll only keep drinking. I keep going back to the one I love. Anywhere that Tim Urban is playing, I will say that. You will find me there too, because I think Tim Urban is amazing.
That sounds awesome. So where might I? Well, let me go back first to the Summer Moon, because I'm kind of intrigued. What are you going to drink when you're at Summer Moon? What's your drink of choice there?
It's typically a large half moon latte with oat milk. I know, it's so obnoxious. My coffee order is like the most high maintenance thing ever, but that's where we're at 47.
I'm just waiting on the day when you get your coffee cup in it, and you don't have to tell them your name, but then whenever you sit down, it says Alex, not Alexis.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that's coming. Where do you like to eat around town?
Everywhere, really. I like to, what I say, spread the love. So I try to eat everywhere. I love Toasted Walnut. I love Papagayos. I love Lucy's. Like, every place I have a specific thing that I love. Bongo Bo's, their shrimp is awesome.
Give me an idea of like, say, Papagayos. What are you going to get there?
Usually the nachos. I had the nachos last night.
Wow, that sounds so.
The fajita nachos.
Probably something I haven't tried.
You got to try it.
I don't know why, but I'm kind of like you with the drink at Valley Vines. I'm the exact same way. I'm like, okay, enchiladas, and so I rarely even look at the menu, but I'm going to give that a shot. If you say it's good,
great cheese to bean to meat to chip ratio.
Well, see, now you're making this is ridiculous. Now I'm literally going to walk out of here and go over there right now. So let's change gears one more time, and we're getting close to the end of this. So I'm going to ask you some really, really basic but fun questions. Favorite movie?
Anything James Bond.
Wow, really?
And Daniel Craig, James Bond, anything. And I just found out that Daniel Craig's character, James Bond, his passport has April 13th. It's his birthday, which is my birthday. So as a young kid, I wanted to be a spy. I thought I was going to be a spy. I was Nancy Drew, read all of those. So love James Bond, all the old ones, but Daniel Craig is my favorite. So.
Wow, that is the very last thing that I would have thought. And somebody pulled the Notebook out on me the other day in an interview, and it was one of the guys, and that one kind of knocked me, a little sideways. This kind of did the same thing. So that's awesome. I love James Bond, and I think that's amazing. So would you say Daniel Craig is your favorite actor?
Absolutely, yeah. He's one of them, yeah.
Give me an idea. What kind of music, if I go get in your car right now and I turn it on, what station is on?
It depends. It's usually on. I have XM, so it's usually on one of the country stations or one of the. I like the pop rocks, XM. But I love rock and roll. I love Dave Matthews. I love Chris Cornell as my rock god, as they say. Audioslave was my favorite band. Was very sad when he died. It's probably the only celebrity that I've ever actually cried when I found out that they had passed. So, yes, I'm a child of the 80s and 90s. So all of the Nirvanas and the Foo Fighters are right up my alley.
I like it. So if you could go back, you said you're a child of the 80s. If you could go back to your high school age self, 17, 18 years old, maybe right in there, and give yourself some advice or say something to yourself, what would we hear you say?
It's going to sound bad, but do not listen to the school counselor.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay. Is there a story there that we can share, or is that probably something for a different day?
I just believe that they were not guiding me in the best way. I didn't know what I wanted to do at all. And even in college, when you're a junior in college, you have to declare a major. I still had no idea. I knew what I was interested in. I social studies, for example, anthropology. I'm still very fascinated on why people do what they do, especially in the built environment. When you have movable furniture in a public place versus unmovable furniture like a park bench that's drilled in, that type of stuff is really fascinating to me even still today. So I went to the library and I had to declare a major, so I went to the library and I took out one of those career books that started at A, like astronaut, and then had a whole page dedicated to what being an astronaut was. I literally got to the end and it said urban planner. And I read through all of it and read through what you would do to have a career in urban planning. And that's ultimately where I got my master's degree in urban planning thanks to that book. So I just struggled with counselors who in high school and college who just maybe gave me like a career aptitude test and said, okay, you should be an accountant, and none of that was correct for me.
So I envisioned you going into the counselor's office saying, I want to be a spy, and maybe that's why they misdirected.
Maybe I did. They're like, we can't help you.
So, favorite color?
Oh, it's not a color.
It's not a color.
Black? Is black
no.
a color?
Hey, you know what? I'm going to call it a color.
Okay,
yeah, I don't know if it technically is, but you see me sitting here. I'm a big fan of black. There's a ton of advantages to black, and that's awesome. You may be one of the few people I've talked to that also likes black. So, and of course, we all love Celina orange, right?
Yes, of course.
So, how many? If you had to just guesstimate a close number, how many shirts, ball caps, etc., do you have that have Salina on them?
A lot. I have a lot of city EDC Salina shirts. The heart logo is something that the EDC really embraced. So I'm wearing a heart logo Salina EDC shirt today. So I would say at least 10, at least some iteration of it, whether it's Salina with the wheat logo or Salina with the heart logo or a bobcat. And fun fact, my high school in Gainesville, Florida, was the Buchholz Bobcats. So Bobcats and Salina it's like coming home.
It was destined to be from the time you're standing over the kids in the yard and all the way up to now. It's just destiny has unfolded for you. So we love Salina. Next to last question. We love Salina, but if Salina didn't exist, where would Alexis Jackson live?
Right next to the beach. Probably a block or two from the beach so that I could ride my beach cruiser in the afternoons to the beach and take my family there and hang out. It's always a special place. It's always just relaxing.
I like it. And I foresee somehow, I don't know how we're going to tie a beach into Salina, but I have a feeling
we might.
There may be a beach in Salina.
You never know what Alexis is cooking up.
That's right. So final question. What is it about Salina in particular that you love? Like, what's your personal Kool-Aid here?
It's definitely the people. The fact that I have had a flat tire and was stopped on Preston and 3 or 4 people tried to help me was amazing. That has never happened in my life before. I don't think it would happen in Dallas or in any other city. I love that you can walk into any of the businesses and know somebody, have a friendly conversation. I joke all the time that if I'm having a bad hair day, I don't go to Brookshire's because I will inevitably run into somebody and it's like, hey, there's that EDC girl and wow, her hair not on point today. So usually try to look, decent, at least if I'm going to Brookshire's.
All you need to do is just say, it's Alexa. That's
that other girl.
That's right. Yeah. There's 2 of you, and you get confused a lot. But Alexis, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for sharing some time. I know your time is critically valuable, and I personally want to say thank you for all that you do. You are remarkable. You're remarkable in your job, and we appreciate you very, very much. I just want you to understand that. And I want to ask you this. Will you come back? Was this painless enough? Mm-hmm. Would you come back and do this again down the road?
I would love to, and I'm humbled and blessed to be able to serve this community and do what I love every day.
All right, guys, that was Alexis Jackson, and she was awesome. She really, really, really knows her stuff about EDC, and she was so kind as to give us a little bit of insight and have some fun with us about personal things in her life. I literally did not see the James Bond answer at all. Like, I just completely unexpected. So that was awesome. And I look forward to having her back on the show because Salina, Texas is such a dynamic and growing city. There's always going to be new stuff coming along, and we're always going to want to talk to Alexis. And guys, I hope that you like this show enough that you will share it on your social media, that you'll tell your friends about it, and that you'll continue to tune in. I've got a long list of guests who have agreed to be on the show. We've got some special events that we're going to go cover. It's a fantastic time to be in Celina, Texas. And what we want to do is bring everything good about Celina to you through this podcast. So until next time, God bless, and I'll see you on the next show.